Use this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Financial literacy seems to be somehow an important subject, but not because I'm a professor, but because I truly believe that the contemporary financial system is exposed to a large series of discussion regarding the so-called asymmetry between the financial institutions, which are so-called sophisticated economic agents, and consumers, which sometimes simple citizens, let's say so, they do not have really familiarity with the financial concepts and principles. So I think that even today, but especially in the future, this financial literacy will be a key issue in the financial regulation and in the relation between financial institutions and consumers. So we are happy to have here representatives from both sides, either the regulators, and we have Mrs. Alexandra Ioana Bontaș from the Financial Supervisory Authority. Thank you for being present. We have also representatives from the National Bank of Romania, Mr. Anton Comănescu. Thank you. And on the other hand, we have, let's say, representatives from the financial industry, like Mrs. Florentina Almăjanu from the CFA Society in Romania. Thank you for being present here. And also Florin Bălcan, CEO of Provident Financial Romania. So we have all the parties. We are also the consumers, and we can start now a very, very interesting discussion regarding this subject, how you perceive it, obviously personally as scholars and experts, but also from the institutions that you represent, and what should be done next to avoid such a very strong critique sometimes from mass media and from other stakeholders that argue that consumers somehow are not really aware of the clauses of the financial contracts. Thank you very much, and I would invite Mr. Anton Comănescu, our guest from the National Bank of Romania, to start this discussion.
To start the discussion. Alex, I can use this. I have to stand because the food generously provided by the National Bank of Romania made me to eat too much, so I cannot talk, but my belly is full. Financial literacy is a fashion. I would like to provoke you. I'm sorry that there are few people left in the room. When I came with my two colleagues, so I will show you how young is the team of financial education at the National Bank, Ciprian and Andrei, very young people like you. When we arrived in the morning, but it was full of students, and now it's only half the room, but this means that only the very interested people remained in the room, so we will have a great debate. I'm not a politically correct person in terms of financial education. So my way of looking at financial education is a little bit controversial. I'm happy that none of my bosses are here. I will ask my colleague Alex and Florin not to record me. I'm new in financial education. I came to the department less than 2 years ago, and I was in international relations before. So I immersed myself in the discourse on financial education as much as I could, and I discovered a lot of things that made me realize that we perceive financial education in a rather monovalent way. Like financial education in a pure state, it's only a question of effort to reach the people, to send the message, and the people receive the message happily. Everybody is interested in it, and then we come with numbers, we celebrate numbers, and we say that each person from the Central Bank of Romania reached 500 school kids per what, Ciprian? Per month? was it? Per month. So we are very happy with numbers. But there is much more beyond numbers. There is, in the first place, there is not only the fact that we need to reach those people, the fact that you talked, and I go with my colleagues often to schools, and we speak to children starting from the 2nd grade to high school, and we realize that, for example, with the little ones, but also in the 5th grade or 6th grade, if we don't provide something funny or something cool or something very exciting in the first 2 or 3 minutes, we lose them. And if I think back into my years of school, when we stayed and we took notes without asking ourselves, is this useful for my life? It's not the case anymore. I was talking with Alexandra before, and we said, I asked, are the students here coming because they are interested or they were brought by their professors? I'm sorry. And Alexandra said, it's not like in our times. They come because they are interested. I hope so. So, at the National Bank here, we have the first major concern that we have is to be able to create interest, to create a demand. Because you know, every one of you knows that there is plenty of financial information on the net. You have to Google and you know everything. You can write a PhD. So there is plenty. The supply side is complete. We have to create a demand. We have to make people aware that they need a certain type of information and knowledge that, and this is the very important thing, that will practically help them in their daily lives. And now the question is, which is this practical information that they need? Big question. If you ask Alexandra, it's about pensions and insurance. If you ask someone from the Ministry of Finance, it's about taxes. If you know about taxes, you will be more relaxed, you will live happily ever after. You will not end up like Al Capone. If you ask our governor, there is a different type of information that is at the core of financial literacy. So the first idea that I would like to underline here is that financial education has a color. I wouldn't say a bias, but there is not such a thing as pure financial education. There is a certain way of conveying the message, there is a certain type of information that each of the providers of financial education are able to send to the public. Obviously, this creates a certain diversity in the information, and this is very good. But I have to say that this creates also some competition, because, for example, the ASF provides information to their market share, let's say, of the public. We provide to more or less the same type of public, but with a different twist. And it's not easy. We are now in the process of creating a national strategy of financial education, and we realize how hard it is to create a single system of pipelines where the information circulates and reaches those people. The target audiences, as we pretentiously like to call them. Then, if we are lucky to reach the audience, then we have to assess the impact, because reaching the audience is not enough. They might be there, we might talk to them, but we have to ask how much of the information is processed and integrated in their system. This is very hard to assess. You can come up with numbers of how many people you met, 500 people, 500 school kids per person who goes in the schools, 1 million people in all the projects of NBR in 1 year. These are quite sterile figures. Then the next step after impact is the outcome, and this is behavior. This is extremely, extremely difficult to change. There were two distinguished professors, young ladies from the University of Bucharest, who whom I invited here at the bank to give a lecture about the behavioral dimension of financial education, and they came with very bad news for policymakers in financial education, or policymakers with an interest in financial education, because they said only 1% of the current programs of financial education, there is only 1% change in behavior as a result of the policies and programs in financial education throughout the world, in a meta-study of about 150 countries and statistics, related statistics, sorry. Now the question that comes next is how to change behavior. My idea is that we need to provide practical information. And again, here we are facing many challenges, because the practical information that, for example, the central bank can provide is about the security of banknotes. This is practical, but then cash is, in Romania, is 6% of the total money in circulation, and it's still going down. In Sweden, you know, of course, that it's now close to zero cash. So the practical information that we provide about cash circulation, banknotes, coins, is less and less relevant. Then what else can we tell people to save? We can teach kids about deposits, and youngsters or students about loans. But then here again, we face another challenge, because if you tell to kids, go and save, but then they go home, you tell them about the piggy bank. If you are more digitalized, not like me with this kind of phone with buttons, you can have a little fintech there, and you show that they can use an app and save from the app, which is easier and more funny. But then they go home and they see all the ads on TV about Milka and yogurt and Fanta and the last iPhone. And this is not at all pro-saving behavior. And then their parents come to us and they say, please, 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 tell to our kids that buying the last iPhone, it's not the next thing that they need. But there is a challenge always. And this creates the need for us, providers of financial education, to think about these challenges, because only sending the message, it's close to zero productivity in what we do. One good news is, and I talked to Professor Dembisky and with Mrs. Savo before, I'm an enthusiast of fintech, and the digitalization of finance provides not only a new world in which people live and interact, but also a new opportunity for us providers of financial education, because it's a channel through which we can spread the word. We can send little advice on an application. We can encourage fintechs to come to our hub and find a way to communicate among themselves and to create a certain network where the information is circulating more efficiently, and so on and so forth. And you can embed education in the financial product, which makes it the ultimate way of making information useful, because you open the app or you want to make a payment with your mobile, and then the advice comes exactly at the moment when you need it. So that would be the good news. The central bank is doing a lot, and the ISF is also doing a lot. Probably our colleagues are also engaged in this mega process of digitalization of finance. And we hope that soon we will find a way to bridge this gap and to make the supply of information to meet that demand which is there, but we have to see it more clearly. That would be it for the moment, and then I would be happy to debate more. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts. You weren't really politically incorrect. It was okay, all the discourse. I got some ideas, and I just asked the audience to prepare and to have some questions. Yes? Maybe now, if there is a question, or afterwards, after everybody has its own intervention. Otherwise,
There's a question.
It's a question? Okay. And maybe the answer will be after all the presentations. So, okay?
As you prefer.
It can be now? Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon, my name is Amdi, I'm from Turkmenistan. I study at Bucharest University of Economic Studies, final year. So you talked about the demand for financial education, and personally, as we study finance, like for past 3 years in our faculty, I think the demand is decreasing for financial education with artificial intelligence or with the IT education increasing. And you said that this digitalization creates opportunities for financial education. I think it creates challenges or threats to education, because now that I study that hard to understand financial terms or financial terminology, and on the other hand, seeing programs or I don't know, artificial intelligence ingrained systems or programs, I see that slightly that I don't need it. I mean, financial education. There is already financial education there already. So I think most of the youth nowadays thinks that fintech or finance is not as important as it used to be. So my question is, do you agree with me or with this statement?
You know, it's always very polite to say this is an excellent question, but this is really an excellent question. And you stole I wrote some, I'm not at all organized, I wrote some ideas here, and one was exactly about what you said. There are two, you are absolutely right, and I will tell you two cases which will emphasize what you said and offer a tentative answer. In economics and communication, there is a phenomenon called the CNBC effect. The CNBC effect says that there is an abundance of information to the world of finance today, but this makes people lazy. Yeah, there is plenty of information, so you are not concerned with the exchange rate, with the interest rate, because you know that you can access it at any moment. So this makes our brain lazier and lazier, and obviously it's valid for any field of human spirit, let's say. It's a tragic fact. Culture and education are decreasing dramatically altogether. It's not only about financial education and financial literacy. But then, if a financial crisis or a financial turbulence or a negative financial phenomenon for your personal finance hits you, then you are in big trouble, because you don't have the time to search. You have to act immediately. God forbid. So, this is to say that the abundance and the accessibility of information should, on the contrary, make us even more vigilant and even more informed. Not like a Wikipedia inside this thing, but, you know, to pick up the relevant information in real time at any moment. This is one thing. About the artificial intelligence, I was 2 weeks ago at a conference when there was a lady from the Bank of Italy, and she told me something fantastic. They have inside the education department, they have a petition department, complaints. They are also dealing, unlike in Romania, unlike the Central Bank of Romania, they are dealing with complaints like consumer protection. In our case, consumer protection with ANPC, with the agency. So they receive thousands of complaints of a more systemic nature, or a complaint that a lady at the front office badly treated an old person or something. They created an artificial intelligence platform. They were obviously overwhelmed with the thousands of petitions and complaints. They created a system of artificial intelligence that reads them, There's even a translator from handwriting to kind of word system. And then this artificial intelligence analyzes them. For the most basic ones, it can even generate a brief reply, but it does much more than this. It identifies gaps in financial information in the public, in financial knowledge, and says, look, people are not, 80% of the people don't understand what the interbank rate is. Or 50% of the people have problems with paying their monthly installment to the credit because they don't know that there are better alternatives, and so on and so forth. Furthermore, the Italians at the Banca d'Italia, they want even more. They want to look at socio-psychological trends, and even they hope, this is maybe an utopia, to prevent financial crisis. When there is a stress in the society, when things go wrong, people convey this information through petitions. So there is artificial intelligence, and there is, back to your question, there is a lot in technology that can make us lazier and gives us the impression that we don't need that much education as before, but the answer is that we need it even more than before. If you want to be in time and you want to adapt to the current trends, the world of finance is becoming more and more sophisticated. So you are more vulnerable as a citizen today than you were before. So you have to be better educated today. That's my opinion. Better educated and better informed than before. Sorry, a long answer.
Thank you. Another question?
Shall we take them at the end, because I have the tendency to speak too much? And then
let's take the questions, and the answers will be at the end, because there will be more questions maybe for one person.
Okay, my question would be that how honest do you think is this will from the financial sector to educate the people? Because I feel like there are very powerful groups that actually profit from an illiteracy of financial knowledge, like commercial banks. I think they are not necessarily interested to have the perfectly educated customer, because people will be smart enough to avoid certain fees and things like this. So I think for very powerful people, it's also okay to not have such well-educated people in the financial field.
So, very questions. I also have some, but afterwards, I would like now the third question, please. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you said about fintech that is coming more and more. So you said about your approach, that it's a way to learn and to teach the students. So my question to you is, what should be the 2 concrete ways of teaching in fintech in the next 1 year from the National Bank of Romania? Thank you.
That I can answer immediately in 2 phrases, because then we will forget. The other one is a more complex question. We want to bring all the fintechs to create a kind of platform with a unique interface. This has been done by central banks in Mexico, Belarus, Luxembourg, I think, several central banks, very revolutionary approach. You ask the good fintechs, the mature and the serious fintechs in the country to come together, a common interface. They provide the services, each of them under their logo and under their conditions. But there is a unique interface, and on that interface you put your like call-outs. So you want to transfer money from your wallet to your savings account, then you receive a little advice how to do it, or at what rate or at what pace. If you click, if you touch it, then you have more in-depth knowledge. That's our aim. My idea. I don't know if it will happen or not.
Okay, I have also two questions for you, but of course for the end. First of all, I want to know what is your opinion about the cost of education, because okay, we want to educate people, but this is costly. So the provider of education need to spend a lot of resources of doing this. So who should support that cost finally? Secondly, I want to know, one second, because I want to address the question.
Can I answer you shortly, please? I know it's not my turn, but I think that you'll forgive me.
Okay.
I think I remember a quote that says, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. So that's about the costs.
That's another way of educating yourself, ignoring the education. And secondly, you asked for the demand for education. And you said that the demand is not created. I think that the demand is there, the need for education is there, but is not so well highlighted. Do you agree with this? And I will say something like that. Do you think that an educator can educate somebody, or somebody will be educated by himself? So education is something individual-based effort. I cannot educate somebody. I can present some ideas, but the effort to try to understand and to integrate the ideas in your system, own system, it's your own effort. It's an individual effort. So how do you see this problem of the idea of being educated by somebody else, or education is something personal, something individual?
It's a very nuanced.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. As you see, the subject is very, very important. For the moment, I will try to invite Florin Bălcan, CEO of Provident Financial Company, to see maybe some ideas from the regulated industry, the private operators, and how do they see this, especially the big question of the cost of education.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, everybody. I would first like to start on a personal note and to say that now that I see a lot of students coming from the international business and economics, but I would still like more REI than anything else, to say that, I'm a proud member of the REI students, and it was just a couple of weeks ago that we met at the 20 years reunion with Christy, being a colleague of mine for a long time ago. So I think it's a great honor for me to be here in front of you and to share and to talk about a lot of new things that students in REI should be interested about. Now, if we go into the discussion related to the financial education and financial inclusion and financial literacy, I think there are so many directions and so many ways from which we can see this. And I think we have had a great example from Mr. Comanescu on how, looking from the National Bank eyes, you can see the whole picture, but you can see it from the kind of high level, trying to understand that there are so many things that you need to cover that sometimes that seem to be too much. And so then, you get yourself the question of how do I really do it? So I think for us, it's a good way to present you about how do we see it as a company, and how do we see it from our interaction with the consumers that are really there and that are really needing or not needing education, and I will let you decide at the end of this. Now, who has heard of Provident? Can I see some hands? Okay. What do we do? Tell me. Okay, good. I would like to go a bit just to create the proper context through who we are as a company. So, this should be working? No? Good. So, today we are one of the biggest British employer in Romania. We could say proudly that 3 years ago we are the biggest British employer in Romania, having more than 4,000 employees. Now we look somewhere at around 2,000 employees. And it is, with pride that we say that in the 13 years of being here in Romania, we have served more than 1.1 million customers, and we have lended more than 1.3 billion euros to consumers in Romania. We have presence across all the country. We are in 60 branches. And one distinctive thing for us that we'll talk as well is our great relationship with the customers. And this is exemplified as well by the fact that more than three-fourths or 75% of our customers have come back to us to take a second loan throughout these 13 years. So that tells a bit about our good connection that we are able to establish with the customer and our ability to understand it. Now, our model of selling is quite unique because it's a model in which at the base of our connection with the customer is the relationship between our sales representative and the customer going in the home of the customer. So being able to kind of understand the needs of the customer there, but as well understand and evaluate the ability of the customer to be able to pay something back. And one excellent example of the good relationship is the fact that 90% of our sales representatives come from the customers. So they used to be customers of Provident and today are helping us sell the product in their communities. Now, what makes us different and how, when you look at the financial education and financial literacy, one thing is about what you can do at a very kind of educational part. The other part is what can you do really practical. How are you very, very practical able to help the customers to have more financial inclusion or for them to become more educated. And here, if we look at our company, I think one of the big things that we are really happy about is the fact that we cover all the country. We have 40% of our customers coming from rural areas. Now, in the rural areas, what you'll most often see is that it's quite complicated to get to a bank, to get to anybody who can lend you anything. So from this perspective, it is in terms of being able to include customer more into what the financial product means, we believe we have great importance in Romania, being able to bring a lot of customers into understanding what a lending product is about. And we even included an insurance product lately, giving them the opportunity to test and to understand, am I able to really take care of a small money lended, small amount of money lended or not? Now, if you think about it, from the perspective of the customers that we have, we are usually having category of customers that are quite risky, that are not accepted in the banks, category of customers that normally, you would say, well, there will probably be a lot of penalty interest that you would apply to them. Now, also, even though 90%, for example, last year, 90% of our customers had at least one installment not paid in time, we are very proud to say that our model is not about penalizing customers, but it's about working with them. And, the penalty fees that we gain from customers not paying represent less than 0.5% of our income. So basically, they don't exist. What we do is we work with the customers, and through the weekly visits that our representatives have with them, we work with them, we understand what their problems are, because our category of customers is the type that will have a lot of fluctuations in their income, in their weekly income. So what we try to do is to continuously find a way by which they can pay us, even a smaller amount than the normal installment, but continue to pay and continue to get to be engaged. Now, this, together with the responsible lending that we try to do at the beginning, I think it's something that provides a lot of benefits to the customers. Now, if I look in terms of responsible lending, we can say that even though our biggest loan is about 15,000 RON, when we look at the average that we sell is about 4,000 RON. And we have a lot of customers that actually we decrease the amount versus what they would want, just because obviously they don't qualify, or our agents talking to them, they understand that, maybe it's good not to take that much at this moment because you will not be able to repay. And I think your question about how honest the companies are in terms of really wanting customers to be educated, well, for me, it translates quite easily. If the customer is not educated and is not understanding that they take more than they can afford to, this will mean a loss. So if I lend 100 RON to a customer and then I will get nothing from it, in the end there is no benefit. And for me, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for the customer because he will get reported into the credit bureau and it will get kind of a social stigma and he will not be able to take a loan in the future again, on one hand. And it makes no sense for me because there is no profitability and there is nothing. So even from a business perspective. So if I look from our side, it is very crucial that we understand our customers, but as well, it's very crucial that our customers understand what they take as a loan. So from this perspective, we have had several steps in looking and seeing, what I can do to make sure that the customer really understands a contract. If you go and you look into big contracts that you see when you're receiving a loan, most of the time you don't have the time to read through them. I mean, who has ever read a contract fully before signing it? Anybody? Yeah, very few. So realistically, if you make the contract with a lot of pages, I think that makes it very hard for the customer to really understand what they are getting into. What we tried and our efforts done in real life were to work together with the Association of Financial Users in Romania, a very reputable NGO, and we decreased our contracts to only 4 pages so that it's quite easy to read and it's quite easy for the customer to understand that, if I take a loan, I know what's the installment that I will need to give on a weekly, monthly basis, but also what's the total amount that I need to pay. And adding on top the fact that we don't have the penalties, basically the total amount is guaranteed from the beginning until the end, no matter the tenor in which you pay your amounts back. So I think that's something which it's simple, but it's realistic and provides customer with the benefit of really understanding how much they can take, but also that they will be able to repay. Now, one thing that will always come when you talk about Provident is that we are expensive. Are we expensive? Thoughts? Well, we are. So there is no shame in saying that we are expensive. But I think there's good reasoning about why we are expensive. And a couple of words here about this. Now, you should know the difference between a bank and a non-banking financial institution. As a non-banking financial institutions, obviously, we don't attract deposits from customers, which means that you need to go and fund yourself from the market, which means that especially right now when you see that the deposits are at a very, very low interest, you're going on the market and you're getting the funding at a much higher cost. So for us, the funding is somewhere between 9–10%. Now, on top of this, I told you that we have good coverage for all the country. That means that if you call Provident today and you need a loan, basically, one of our sales representatives will come and visit you at home in 2 hours. Now, in order to be able to do this, that's an infrastructure cost, because you need to have the people available everywhere. And that's something that will keep you always with some money that you will need to recover from the products that you lend. And then the third part, and maybe here is the cost, it's good to say that, for example, our cost last year was somewhere very close to 200 million RON just to keep this infrastructure going. And then the third part is, we talked about the category of customers that we are addressing. And we know that our customers are the customers that, again, are not attractive for banks, will never qualify for banks, they are riskier. And if you look, for example, in a bank, they will tell you that from 100 customers that they lend to, they would like that not more than 3, 4, let's say 5 of them will not pay back. Well, for us, from 100 customers, we have about 15 that don't pay back by the end of the time. Well, that's an extra cost that you still need to have in your interest. So overall, we say, yeah, we are expensive, but we believe that we bring the right value for our customers. And we believe that if we explain properly to the customers why you are expensive and what's the total cost and what is the amount that they need to pay, I think that's a fair and good explanation for the customer and education that this is life. You know, you can either go and be perfect and be able to qualify to a bank which will give you a lower interest but will expect that you pay every time on time and which will have different penalty fees, or there are other options. Now, talking about financial education and literacy, we went and we had a lot of activities about this. And there's one interesting thing that I would like to share with you in terms of looking at the commercials and trying to understand how much people are really getting as an information from a TV commercial. Because if you look, a lot of our people, and especially a lot of our customers, take their main information from TV. But the question is, how much of information do they receive there? And I would like to ask our colleagues to help us with the short movie, and we'll talk a bit afterwards.
Clipa în care ai știut că lecțiile de not au meritat. Investește responsabil în planurile tale.
Now, to me, that's scary. I mean, really, 1 out of 7.7 million viewers. So, you know, talking about what people see, what they understand from the commercials, and, you know, how we can educate them, it's clear that we need to find lots of ways, and there is no one single way, but definitely I think that there is a need. Then it shows that, you know, if you think that the customers are taking a lot of information from TV, you'll always get yourself asking, are they getting the right information from the TV? And, you know, there's always things to improve in what we need to show on TV as well. Now, going a bit to the financial education, we are very proud to say that we have started working on financial education in 2008, 2 years after we've come to Romania. At that moment, we have created the first platform, which was called the Family Budget, together with the Consumer Protection Authority at that moment. But we had as well a lot of activities and going and having different workshops throughout the countries and talking to the people and trying to explain them, creating a lot of flyers with where they could, you know, work on the family budget, but as well having even workshops with different trainers, different professors, NGOs, and trying to help them in teaching forward the financial education. In 2013, we moved to do something else, and we had Siguranță Financiară, which is another site where basically people can go there and check their budget, their monthly budget. They can understand how much they can spend, how much they should earn in order to spend more, and basically, where they are with their finance for the month. And then in 2018, kind of going more with the technology, we went and creating more of a online gaming, a gamification, putting practice into Știi cu banii, where again we went and we asked people a lot of questions through playing games and trying to increase their education. In the meantime, together with our association, ALB, we are part of the national working of the national strategy that Mr. Comonescu was talking. Together with AmCham, we worked as well into putting a platform of financial education and going into schools, being able to talk to the kids, and also looking into how we can add new products that could allow the customers to really test, really understand what a financial product means like. And for us, we have always liked the approach of low and grow. So basically, if you have a new customer, you would like first to give him a small loan. And the smallest loan for us is 500 RON. Well, if somebody can prove you that 500 RON would be good for him and he's able to repay, then that's great. We can kind of elevate you to something else. If not, I don't think it's a big risk for us or for the economy or for the customer. I think it's something that all of us can live with. But talking about financial education, this year, again, we took another step into putting it into practice. And actually, together with the same NGO of the Association of Financial Service Users and with FinZoom, we created a ballot of about 300 questions about customer education, financial education, and then we challenged all our customers that come online that if they are answering to 4 questions, then they will receive 10% discount at our products. And the questions, they were maybe not basic, but definitely not very elevated. They were somewhere between basic and medium. What we liked that 6,500 customers entered on our website and answered the questions. We liked that they answered about 27,000 questions. And also a good number of them, about 25% of them, managed to answer 4 in a row. So 1,800 customers managed to answer all of them. And also we could see that not all of them were really interested in a loan, but rather testing their own knowledge, because only 700 asked for a loan, and we gave the loan 500 of them. And what we tried to test is, are the educated customers actually better payers? And that's the part that we are looking and trying to convince ourselves that, if a customer really knows more about financial education, it's worth giving a lower interest because you'll have a lower risk in the end. And we believe that if we will see that such exercises are favorable and we see that the customers are really there, I think that's another good tool of incentivizing our customers to go through this and become more educated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Questions, please? Let's see if there is not a monopoly. Other persons? Otherwise, please have the question.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. It's just out of curiosity. You said you arrived to Romania 13 years ago. It coincides with the financial crisis, right? In 2006. Excuse me?
A bit earlier, 2006.
Yeah, but like in the future you see the crisis, and at the time when consumers lost their faith in financial institutions or financial institutions losing faith in the consumers, how you had this courage to involve in this kind of activities, taking into the consideration that at that time Romania was not also part of the EU, just out of curiosity. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? I have also a question, if I am allowed to. I was always thinking about this, let's say, special place of the financial industry, because I was thinking about the automakers selling cars. And if somebody ever asked the question whether a buyer of a car really understands the product he buys, really has the knowledge to use it in a proper way, and not obviously, okay, we have a license for driving a car, but what's inside the car, I think, for vast majority is a secret, even for me. So, why do you think we place such a big burden on a big task for the financial industry, banks and non-banking institutions alike? Why is this critical role played by these institutions? Thank you. And if there is no other question, please allow me to introduce Alexandra Bontaj from the Financial Services Authority, which is particularly dealing with this financial education issue in this institution.
Hello. Actually, I had a different presentation and a different speech, but my colleagues here, mostly my colleague Anton, changed my mind, presenting his own view, and we were talking between us. I think we have a problem in Romania about the words financial education, because financial education is not financial literacy. And we are and we must talk about financial literacy. Financial education, okay, you are in schools. You went through the 11th grade with the mandatory economics school book and curricula. You are here in the economics faculty and you are studying things about financial markets. Good for you. By the way, I was in your faculty also, and I have 2 teachers in the room, so please, I'm not graded for this, okay? So you do have all the financial education stuff within your education system, within your phones if you Google it, but you don't have financial literacy. I wonder how many of you know what financial literacy really means? Anyone? It's about skills. It's about skills, and yes, it's about the consumer's protection. We at FSA have a whole department for consumers' protection, and the financial education is part of this department because it's about the consumer. It's about the entire set of skills that people might need, should use whenever something connected to the money in any form, even if you're talking about a credit card, a debit card, an insurance, a private pension, or whatever you want to invest in, a forex. You are talking about money. You are talking about money in a modern form, okay? You are talking about fintechs, but it's also about money. All the skills connected to the money are about financial literacy. And unfortunately, because this is how I started, we don't have a word to translate into Romania literacy. We have financial education. Whenever you go and try to do something about financial education, in Romanian sounds like, why are you teaching me something I don't need to be taught because I already know everything about it? Well, it's not about that. It's about the skills. Because yes, as my colleague Anton told you, happened in Italy, as he was told, it happens in our country too. We are receiving letters for consumers to tell us that they lost money or they thought they were misled by a seller of a financial product, and they want their rights to be respected. Well, actually, the same example with read it before you sign it, we have it too. And as a contract is an understanding between two parts, and you cannot get between those two parts, you cannot undo what you already signed. So us as an authority, the only way to protect you is to, okay, teach you, as is in more than teaching you, to teach you to read between signing, before signing, and to use that information for your own good. Otherwise, the rest of the information is there only for you to reach. So yes, you should educate yourself, but we can show you where to look. This is our role. This is the teacher's role. So I don't think that you'll need the numbers, as the numbers for our part of education, okay, there are numbers, there are statistics that are important for us. For you, as young consumers, are not that important. What can I tell you briefly is that FSA is doing financial literacy or financial education programs for different types of consumers or future consumers, from the young ones, and you'll see here everything starting from 5 to 18 years old, excuse me, to the students level and to adults level. If you want the numbers and the statistics, I could give it to you, but I don't think this is your most important way to follow. The ones that you should be interested in is the skills that you can get from every person here, and more of us, that can lead you through financial programs in order for you to understand. Actually, the key is how to use a financial product or a financial service in your best interest. Not only how to read it, the contract, as those large contracts are very complicated to read, even for us, the financials from the market or the white collars are very hard to read, I guarantee you that. For instance, I give an example. An insurance for life, which is an optional insurance. But I want to buy one because, not because I care about my life, but because I care about the future of my child. So I want the future of my child to be better, to be smooth, and if I die, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I choose to get a life insurance. Very nice for me. And I go to an insurer and I ask for this kind of insurance. And the contract is like this. I don't know if you see it's like 200 pages or something. Okay, there's a short 10 pages at the beginning that gives you the entire contract on short, but the real contract that I'm teaching you to read it's like 200 pages. Good, but you are very patient, and you are students, and you know how to read, and you go home with the 200 pages, and you start to read it. And you read it and you read it. From my experience, it's not only about insurance there, because you all know insurance. It's also about medicine. You have no idea about the diseases that are mentioned in that life insurance contract, and you Google about them. It's about more than just the financial field. So, okay, you are good financial professionals, but you are no doctors. So guess what? You won't be able to fully understand the 200 pages. you will need help. That's why the second advice that we are giving in the financial literacy programs that we have, it's about ask. Everything that you do not understand, or you think you don't understand quite well, just ask. Just bother the seller as much as you can and ask as many questions as you can until you're fully satisfied. Because I remember, I'm with the code side, as I told Mr. Paun about coding. I also remember a quote from a movie that's on Netflix, and I think that you're familiar with it. I won't say the name. The quote was like this: what are you truly desiring? The insurance, for example, or the money from the banks, or the credit card, or the private pension, or the capital market, about investing. It's about what do you truly desire. It's about desires and about the needs. And you have to put them in a balance and know how to juggle with them. Because without that skill, you won't gain any profit. Not profit only in money, but you won't profit from the financial instrument or the financial product at the whole potential that product can offer you. Usually, as we teach in history of the economics, the financial products and the financial services are invented by the people for the people. They are not invented by authorities. We did not invent the banks or the credit cards or the insurance. We did not invent anything. And actually, us as regulators are behind the market. The market develops faster than we can regulate. So they are made by the people, by you. You innovate them. The fintech, the regtech, everything is invented by people. But how can you use it better in our own interest is the key of financial literacy. I will play a movie too, because this movie practically incorporates every advice that we give in the programs that we have. I will ask the colleagues to double click on the movie. Small thing to say. I didn't put there, and we do not put there, no formulas, no definitions, no nothing about something which can call education. This is the teacher's job to educate you and to teach you about formulas and definitions. We are trying in our programs to teach you skills. I think that this is the most important stuff. And this is how we complement the school system in every form that can be found in the country. So that's about it. Any questions? Feel free to ask.
Thank you very much. Questions, please?
Thank you. I would like to ask about pensions, because I saw there. We know that in Romania this system will be most probably collapsing quite fast. I mean, maybe 2030. And me, as a young person, I'm asking, okay, I will work, but if this situation will happen, which will be the solutions? For example, with the people that will go on retirement, and they are quite a lot, those that are 50, over 50 now. And which would be the best solution for me to ensure my pension and to make sure that I will receive it. I will not get to retirement, I don't know when I will be 80. Can you answer this question, please?
Yes, thank you. Other questions? I have also one question, exactly starting from the former comment I had. Do we need a certain type of financial license, not only for the financial institutions, but also for the financial consumers, if we accept that there is a critical information asymmetry? That means people who are, let's say, qualifying by their knowledge to be aware of what they choose as financial products. So a driving license for financial consumers. And the last question would be, who chose the soundtrack of the who? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have also a question for Alexandra. Okay, we are acting by trial and error. Yeah, we have kids, and we know that if I'm telling to my kid, do not touch that, my kid will not learn something valuable unless he will touch it. So in this financial literacy, in this financial education, how important is to let that person to try and to lose some money? It's better than trying to saying to him day by day, do not do this, is better this, or to leave it, to lose some money and to learn from that. As I'm remembering Nassim Taleb saying that we have a very short memory, especially regarding bad things that happen to us. So this is the idea, to try to learn by yourself, by risking your own money. So this is also important.
With apologies, I will shortly answer to that and to those two at the end, because that question was a good question, an excellent question. I will say very important. And as education should start, financial education should start from the early years of life, as early as it can be. I will give you an example. We are doing a program that is called the Urban Camp. This summer, it has 2 years old, this program, and this summer we managed to reunite all the financial authorities, us and the National Bank and the Ministry of Finance and the Association of the Banks, and do it together on a week period. The kids from Bucharest were brought by their parents at 9 o'clock and took by 5 o'clock. And between these hours, they tried different games, financial games that can develop them skills and behaviors of a rational consumer. They could lose something, hypothetically money, or they can gain something, hypothetically money. And from experience, I play with these kids and they come in the first day and they say, wow, I'm a grown-up, I want to leave home, I want to be on my own, I know how to manage money, I'm the best in town, okay. And when they leave on Friday afternoon, they say, oh, it's very good with mommy and daddy home, because mommy and daddy is very good. You know, it's about changing those skills that it's good to be confident in yourself, but when you are facing possible loss, or even loss if you are doing this game with some adults, you are learning on your own skin how to manage better money, or not actually, because we have cases of adults that couldn't even be closer to learning, even if they lost huge amount of money. So, but yes, it is important to do some practical simulation or gamification of financial education, better than just learning just simple definition, as we call them.
One remark also for everybody from the jury. We discussed earlier about the family. I'm the father of 2 kids, small kids, 4 and 6 years old. And do you have programs for parents to educate their kids? For instance, I'm thinking now to give to my kids some money if they are doing something positive things for the family. Yeah, they are cleaning their room, and this is okay. Or do you have some educational advices or programs for parents to try to increase the economic education of their kids, financial education? It's a question for all of you, if you have an experience in this matter. Thank you.
We have the last discussant, but the most important, because everybody will live with this idea, they are the last ones to be spelled. Mrs. Florentina Almăjanu, from Managing Director from Chartered Financial Analyst Society, which is maybe one of the key accreditation institutions for financial analysts in Romania, and not only. Please share with us your thoughts.
I will stay here and I will speak with you. I prepare a long presentation, but after all these discussions, maybe I will share with you only a few ideas. I am very happy and thank you to having me today here and for this invitation. Sure, the invitation was for Adrian Codirlașu, the president of our CFA Society Romania. Sure, this is his new look, Adrian Codirlașu look, with very red hair and long hair. But anyway, I am Florentina Almăjanu, the managing director of CFA Society Romania. Our association was founded in 2000, and we can say we are old. Because I am seeing here in this hall, in this magnificent hall, in fact, a lot of students, I would like to ask you if some of you heard about CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst. Only one? Okay, CFA. CFA, it means Chartered Financial Analyst. It's a title, what you can obtain after 3 levels of exams and 4 years of experience. It's made by CFA Institute from United States. Here in Romania, today, in our days, are 238 certified people, member of our association. In the world are around 170,000 people which have this certification, member of CFA Institute and local societies, local association, which in this moment are 159 societies in the world. What I can say more about our association, we are very proud that more than 40% from our members are women, which put us on the 2nd place in the world after an Asian association. I think so in Vietnam, it's the first association which have this high percentage of women. In average, to the CFA Institute, the percentage of women in the association are around between 15 and 20. That is the reason why we are so proud. Romanian women are very, very well educated in financial analyst. These are a few words about the association, and because I'm here and we like numbers, I suppose that some of you also like numbers. I would like to let you know that United Nations says that in 2050, Romania will have around 15 million people, and almost of them will be more old. Because I heard before an answer from one student that what she will do for her pension. For her pension, she can do many things. And I advise her to start it now. We have this campaign, financial education campaign, which is called Generation I. Generation I is coming from independence, or I like a person, or I from what you would like to come. What I would like also to share with you about this campaign and what is Generation I. I'm sure that I will not speak everything what is in this presentation. You will have access to this presentation, and I would like to share with you in a few minutes what are the results of the campaign. We started this campaign in February, March. And I would like to mention from the beginning that the funds from this campaign are coming from CFA Institute, because previous Mr. Paun asked how costly it's financial education. It's costly. But we consider, CFA Society Romania, that this deserve. In fact, the new generation, all the people deserve to know it, to know more information from the specialists, because we have this specialization, CFA. We can share information to everybody on a common language. This was the purpose, to share with everybody what we are know in a common language, to be understandable. This campaign is from young people, from adults, and from ages, who are united by common values, in the center of which independence is found, in this form: intellectual, emotional, and financial independence. It's from where did this campaign need to come from? The campaign is coming from the reality of pensioners in Romania. As you know, the pensioners in Romania in these days, in our days, are dependent by the kids, dependent by their kids, dependent by the state. And we would like to offer more information to change this situation. And we realize that we can do it with this campaign for financial education. We made some things in this matter, and we consider that independence as a personal and social value. We consider that the financial independence with support of the Generation I. And what is it, how it manifests, how we obtain it. This is about our campaign. But how we can do and how we can talk about that? To whom? To young people, to adults. And also adults can approaching retirement age. For that, we're thinking that it's important to have a decalogue of Generation I. We put 10 key principles. On these key principles, we add some podcasts. You can go to our website, which is calling generațiaindependentă.ro, generationindependent.ro, but it's in Romanian language. And you can go there and you can find all these 10 principles, and you can find 10 podcasts with our colleagues, which are CFA, which made this registration and share about financial education and how you can be independent in their view, sure, and any age, at any age. I encourage you to listen to these podcasts, and I will show you a few faces of this campaign, but not here, at the end, on the conclusion. I will pass all this, because these are the steps how we made it, this financial education campaign, but I will underline a few things, because you can take part of this campaign if you would like. Sure, if you believe in this financial education. You can share and post about Generation 9 from our Facebook page. You can share our initiative to your colleagues. You can speak with your parents or with your friends about that. Talk with your family about financial independence. And also, you can generate stories. Also, we speak about this campaign to many events. We story about our approach, and also my colleagues' story about their experiences. Results of this campaign after 8 months are not so huge, but we made it all of this on this website. We story about everything, and we share on the social media all the messages what we made it. And as I said before, I would like to encourage you to listen the podcasts. These are some of my colleagues which share their experiences in these podcasts. What you can find it on our webpage. I don't know what I put it. Resources. We have also on our website some resources. Some information, articles wrote by different people, which offer you information about some questions in financial field, how you can get answers. Also, what we do it in this campaign, we made partnerships with different organizations, with association, with, for example, with Bucharest Stock Exchange, and we share all this information due to their members, because we would like many people have more information. We believe that if we can share to almost the person which have a social media access, we put it on the right way. And we have a few conclusions about our campaign. We already made it a phase 1. We are prepared for phase 2 to do it another things. And that's all about our campaign. I would like to encourage you, as I said before, previous, to check our website, to check the Facebook of CFA Society Romania, and we would like also to have your feedbacks, because feedbacks are very important for us to know if we are doing right or not. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you.
Is that time?
questions? Okay. Thank you for your intervention. I would like to kindly ask you whether you can provide some answer to the questions already asked, but in a certain limited manner. Thank you.
I will start with a joke of financial literacy. We have two characters in Romanian jokes, Bulă și Strulă. And Bulă goes to Strulă, and he asks Bulă, he says, you know, you are my friend since childhood, and I'm in deep trouble, I need 10,000 euros. And Strulă says, I am a friend, I have some money, but I cannot help you. Please help me, and then Strulă says, okay, I will give you, Bulă, I will give you 10,000. When do you give it back? He said, look how we do. I don't need all the money now. I only need now 5,000. So you give me now 5,000, and you give me 5,000 at Christmas. Okay. So I will have to give you back 5,000 euros, and you will have to give me 5,000 euros for Christmas, so we are even. This joke shows that financial literacy is not mathematics, because we think it's math, we think it's like pure, solid, something that you learn, you have a list of advice, and you learn it by heart, and then you are financially literate. And Alexandra made a very fundamental point, the distinction between education and literacy. There is a conceptual distinction, because education is the process and financial literacy is the, let's say, the stock, the outcome. You are financially literate if you had a certain level of financial education. But in Romanian we have this problem that we cannot translate. But a part of this conceptual or terminological distinction, there is a more subtle distinction. The quality of financial education, and this is very difficult to assess. Sometimes it's subjective. And I will try to answer in 1 minute several questions in one compact answer, the one about the private sector, and I will also want to make a reference to the idea of Radu, to the example with the car industry. I would say that it's that education, financial education in particular, is closer to food, because obviously you don't need how a Mercedes functions, but you need to know what a Big Mac contains, or what are the effects. What are the effects on your health? That's what they read. That's what, if you don't know that it's not good for your health, you will be like this. So we have this problem with financial education, that if we consume bad quality information, we run the risk of obesity. If we don't consume enough, we run the risk of malnutrition. So the quality of information and knowledge provided is between these two extremes. So we have to, one ability which has to come with financial literacy is the ability to discern between different types of information and the quality of information. And to answer the question about the private sector, I wouldn't put the anathema on the private sector and say that the banks are bad and they always try to trick us and to sell us products to make a profit. Don't think that we public actors are saints. We provide with the central bank, for me, again, our bosses are not here, there is too much information in the 200 pages annual report. Nobody reads it. I've never read such a report. So there is a lot of junk food, junk information in the market. We have to put this aside, and we have to be able also to select the good quality information. And again, it's not private versus public sector. There is a lot of bullshit coming from the public sector as well. There is, you have to know, an educated person, a financially literate person has to have in the first place the ability to select the relevant information. And one more thing, because there was the question from Mr. Paun, the cost. The cost, I will keep my promise to put everything in one answer, is also about the food. You don't want to consume food from three Michelin star restaurant every day, because obviously you don't have the budget for this, but you don't want to eat McDonald's 3 times a day either. So I think we have to put the best price-quality ratio in the products that we send, and I think this is feasible with a little bit of honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves and to say, look, we have to get rid of the programs which are too costly, because all of us here, we run a lot of costly programs that can be downscaled and put more emphasis with the ones with more impact. Thank you.
I would like to answer to young lady in red, which asked what she's doing, because she will not have any pension when she will become old. Be independent from now, started from now. If you listen one of our podcasts registered by Adrian Tănase, the CEO of BVB, of Bucharest Stock Exchange, he made an example there. If he started 20 years ago when he received the first salary to put 100 lei to the stock exchange, now he can have 150,000 lei. One of the advices is to think now from your first salary to make economy and to invest a small part of your money. And also, you can think to diversify your portfolio, but for pension, you have also the second pillar. Yeah, the second pillar, which is compulsory, but private administrated. And also, you can have the third pillar pension, the third pillar of pension, which is facultative and private administrated. But you can have a portfolio of investments, thinking to that from your first salary when you will have the first salary.
Okay. I can take a couple of questions as well. So there was one about how did we have the courage in 2006 of coming in Romania, knowing that the recession might come. Well, I don't think we knew by that time. But realistically, if we look, Provident is part of an UK group. It's called International Personal Finance. International Personal Finance has started this type of activity in 1880, which means 2006 we had 126 years of experience of doing this, which, you know, kind of ensures you that while business cycles will come and go, the need of the people will always be there, and if you do the right thing, that should be enough to cover and to make you, you know, do quite well in a business. So that would be one. Now, the other part, there was a question about the programs to educate the parents. Honestly, I don't know if they exist. I can tell you my example, and that's a very personal one. So I have 2 daughters, and my example to educate them was to create a monthly budget for them. So every first of the month, my kids receive their budget, which is like 60 RON. And they know that, you know, if they want something which is nothing related to, you know, the immediate needs, and is something that they want, well, they either have those money or they can wait for a couple more months to get the right amount of money to get what they want. Now, the nice part was that immediately after we started this, our kids became significantly much more aware of prices. And suddenly they started to say, oh, this costs 100 RON, it's so expensive. Well, previously they were like, oh, Daddy, you know, this doll of 200 RON, why don't you take it for me? So I think, you know, it's small things, but there are things that we can do at home with nothing really written anywhere, but it's just common sense. And one for Radu, I think Mr. Comănescu answered in a direction. I would like to answer a bit in a different direction related with why banks and non-banking sector is critical. And I would say that, lending money is a service. And you could say, it's very similar with other services. But I would say that it's not really that similar with other services, because if we take an example and I lend somebody 1,000 RON, and he goes to Flanco to buy a TV, well, immediately you have an indirect effect by the fact that he pays the money to Flanco. And then you have a compound effect by the fact that Flanco pays its own employees and pays its suppliers of the TV and so on and so forth. And it creates, it's a very different type of service that creates a lot of power in the economy. From this perspective, we try to measure the impact that Provident had in Romania. And, while we said that we gave loans of 1.3 billion euros and we paid taxes of about 160 million euros in these 13 years. If you add all the compound effect, it looks around 6 billion euros. Well, it looks very, very big figure, but that's a reality. It's the reality that money sets in motion a lot of other things. And that's a reality that, for example, I bought my own fridge through a loan, just because, sometimes you don't have the time to wait and put the money aside, or you don't have the education and the ability. I mean, not all of us are good at putting money aside and buying the right things. So that's why I believe, lending is very important.
Thank you. Last discussion.
So I will be the last again. So I'll try to answer very short and very quickly to everything. I think that your answer was the most professional answer that you can get from from Mrs. Almajan. So yes, it's about you taking care of you from now up to the old age, because something collapsing, if you are talking about the state pension, we are not discussing here. But you are responsible for yourself to manage your future, which is a balanced portfolio of investing, private pension, insurance, whatever you think that fits you. Because you have to find something that you will be comfortable with and a product that fits your needs. Because,
the question was about the public.
Yes, I'm not talking about the public, but behind the public, it's the private, and this is about her. The second question about the driving license for consumer. Well, actually, I'll have to be very maleficent here, and I will tell you no. We shouldn't have a driving license for consumer, because we are struggling with financial inclusion, actually. No, the demand for financial education, if it's going down, actually it's going down more like because of not knowing what to ask than knowing financial stuff. So we have big gaps between generations. We have big gaps between rural and urban population. We need a bigger financial inclusion. The mic is dead, but that's okay. I think I have a big voice, so I can speak louder. So no, we don't need a drive.
Use it.
Burn something in the National Bank. Yeah, but he did it.
Burning questions.
So the last question was about the programs for parents. Good idea, hard to get, actually. Very costly. I will go to the question with the costs. Let's say we do something, but I won't tell you about it because it's embarrassing to tell you about it. Why? Because you cannot reach a sufficient number of parents. It's very costly. The parents are all over. The parents don't have time to stay and listen. The parents are very busy. So in order to get a room like this full of parents, it will be very, 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 trust me, costly. It won't be efficient, so it's more like we don't do it, unfortunately. That's another observation that can mix with something that we, and I hope I'm not getting wrong, our colleagues from the National Bank are realizing it. Joining efforts will make your costs and your actions more efficient. Will make you reach a bigger numbers from audience, from your target groups. Therefore, I think if we are going to reach, let's say, for example, parents, the efforts should be more diversified and more united in order to have something like that.
Because it was a question for all of us with the parents, and because I cannot compete with coffee and keeping you here, it's funny, I will tell you that with all this financial literacy and education, I'm a disaster in financial planning for the family, so my kids are teaching me how to save, and they always have more money saved than me. I'm actually now renovating the garage, and I borrow money from them with an interest. They are 9 and 11. The 9 years old is more of a shark in finance. Yeah. And starting from this funny, real situation, I can tell you that we go in the countryside, and in the countryside, teaching the kids, it's also creating an impact to the parents, because they go home and they teach the parents, which is incredible. It's fantastic. And we underestimate the intelligence and the literacy and the education of the kids in the countryside, in the rural areas, including in terms of the digital exposure. They are much, much more digitally advanced than many of, then I wouldn't compare, but much more than we expect them to be.
Thank you, everybody, for taking part in this panel. I heard a lot of very good ideas to think about later, and I just hope that we will continue somehow with this broad participation discussing about financial literacy. Thank you very much, everybody.